When you see international media, you see a trend where Israel uses a propaganda that always tries to align it with peaceful resolutions. Israeli propagandists keep saying, we have given Palestinians multiple chances for peace, we have given them resolutions, but they disagreed. That's a permanent line of argument that they've been using all over international media. I have here a clip for you discussing why this is a complete facade. It does not in any way reflect the reality on the ground. The clip is from Professor Norman Finkelstein, which I've quoted repeatedly over the last few weeks. He's an American political scientist, a renowned historian on Palestine issues. He's a leading advocate for Palestinian freedom, and he's Jewish himself, whose family suffered the Holocaust. This is a kind of person that you can never accuse of anti-Semitism, because even his families are Holocaust survivors. Let's look at the clip and let's analyze some of the points he mentioned.
I'm not now going to go into a long disquisition on the history of the so-called peace process.
Okay.
But I would ask your listeners, if they have the time, patience, and interest, to just Google what's called the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. And that's a General Assembly resolution that comes up every single year for decades. And it calls for that two-state settlement on the June 1967 border, and it calls for a peaceful settlement on the basis of international law.
Let's first analyze this. He's referring to a very Googleable type of evidence. So anybody could just go on their phone and just verify this stuff. So the UN General Assembly resolution that he mentioned is based on, he says, peaceful settlement that tries to end conflict in Palestine. It has a two-state solution. So it's based on the assumption that we need two states, the Israeli state on the one hand, and also the Palestinian state. So the assumption is we just need two states for these two people, because the Israeli state is a Jewish state specifically, is not willing to give them equal rights in their own countries, even though it was a country that they have invaded in 1948 and they just took it away. But this resolution generally says two-state solution for both the people in there, and this will hopefully end the problem. And it's also based on the 1967 borders. It's not even based on the pre-1948 borders. That would have been the best thing to do, because in 1948 Israel went against all international law and just invaded a country and occupied it. But this resolution says, okay, let's just make sure 1967 borders are respected. And this is based on international law by the International Court of Justice, which is more or less accepted by everyone in the UN. This is the resolution. It's not a Palestinian resolution. It's not a Hamas resolution. It's a resolution adopted by many of the countries in the United Nations. Let's see how the voting procedure has been when it comes to this resolution.
Now, if you look at the voting record every single year, it's the whole world, including the state of Palestine on one side, supporting a two-state settlement on the basis of international law, and on the other side opposing. It's the United States, Israel, and usually some South Pacific atolls like Tuvalu, Nauru, and Micronesia and the Marshall Islands.
He says all the countries have agreement on the issue year after year. They have done this for decades. They give votes for this resolution, and it's usually Israel that's rejecting the resolution, backed by the USA, which has a veto power when it comes to the Security Council, and also some other small states in the South Pacific like Tuvalu, Micronesia, countries we do not hear much about when it comes to international politics. So one can conclude it's Israel that is always stopping the resolution, backed by the USA, which has veto powers in the Security Council. And they have been the sole hindrance when it comes to achieving peace in the issue of Palestine. That's what he's saying.
That record is written in stone. It can't be changed. And it makes very clear what is the obstacle to a settlement. The obstacle is Israel, backed by the United States, opposes a two-state settlement on the basis of international law, the law that has been defined by the International Court of Justice, the legal arm of the United Nations.
So he says The facts are showing on the ground that it's US bullying that is creating the chaos. We know Israel, without being backed by the US, would not stand a chance when it comes to international politics. They would just be overpowered and they would be given resolutions on. But it's usually the US that is giving diplomatic support and also military support. So it's the US bullying that's the problem here. We should have a very clear stand on that. The world has understood this fact, and that's why we're seeing all the demonstrations that we're seeing in the last 2 months. The US bullying has actually created a huge problem for the US itself. I mean, despite the fact that the US has been taking away money from its own citizens, supporting a genocidal apartheid war on the people of Palestine, much of it, when you come to understand the loss of brand that it has suffered, is very great. The US has been losing its respect over the bullying that it has done over the years. It's not the same. Look at the last 20 years of American branding. It has changed over the years. Now people believe that America is a bully state that is trying to do everything it can to just disturb everybody's peace. In the past, actually, there were times where people would consider America a force that would just try to create some democracy or peace or propaganda of that sort. But nobody buys this anymore. It's like everybody knows America is just doing whatever it can to destroy the peace wherever it goes, just for the sake of oil money or whatever other national interest that they have, even though it's not even national, because it's not the American people that are benefiting from this. It's usually the Zionists that are using America for their own dirty political needs. And America has lost respect over this, and also it has lost public opinion. The only reason that we don't have peace in Palestine is because America uses its bullying power, its vetoing power, and nothing else. And everybody understands this picture. It just has to come to an end at one point. I mean, this is bound to happen. That's why the global South countries, including the people in the West, have changed their position over what America does and the foreign policy that it has. A very abusive foreign policy that considers not even the well-being of the Americans themselves. And this has come to an end, and everybody is seeing that for what it is. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please like it, share it, subscribe. Make sure this reaches others. Thank you.